Alright guys, I got this article from the Chicago Tribune that is pretty shameful in my opinion, but let me know what you think. So it's titled, Omarosa May Have Earned Back Her Black Card by Darlene Galanton. So here it goes. Come on, African Americans, have a heart. Omarosa Manigault Newman desperately wants her black card back. I think we ought to consider giving it to her. Look, I know we can't take this exclusive membership card awarded to every black person at birth for granted. It takes a lot to get it taken away, and it's only fitting that black people have to jump through a lot of hoops to get it back. So basically, they have to make sure you conform to the orthodoxy of their political ideology before you're a real black person again. You know, I'm a real boy. I mean, if you're a heretic or a blasphemer against their dogma, they'll shame and bully you. So people like this act like they speak for all black people, like there's some sort of council of elders. So continuing on, African Americans collectively snatched her card away when she took a job in Trump's White House. After that embarrassing photo op she arranged for Trump with the heads of historically black colleges and universities, black people said, "What the heck, she's a lost cause, we'll just burn it." Now that she's been kicked out of the White House and is promoting a new tell-all book, Omarosa is practically on her knees begging for black people's forgiveness, and she has come bearing gifts. So she was part of a Republican administration, and now she's not a real black person anymore. And then when she comes back to the Democrats and the media to give them some ammo to attack Trump with, she has some newfound blackness, as this lady says later in the article. So, I mean, to me, this just sounds like stereotyping, and it sounds pretty racist, honestly. So somehow all black people are supposed to think the same, vote Democrat, or you're not a real black person, you're some kind of race traitor. I mean, this is just a tactic to shame you into conformity. They act like they're the wise arbiters of how real black people think and act. They want to control you with nasty shaming tactics, and if you don't conform and obey, they'll revoke your blackness like some kind of imaginary Michael Jackson effect. Now, it's your free choice on how to vote and what you think and believe politically. The only point I'm really trying to make is just don't let bullies like this shame you into conformity. It's your right to think for yourself on any subject. So lastly, I'm going to debunk a big lie in this article so you can learn something interesting. So here's one more quote from Her Excellency Miss Glanton. Maybe Omarosa deserves a second chance, just like we gave Sammy Davis Jr. Davis lost his black card when he endorsed Richard Nixon's re-election in 1972 and hugged him at the GOP convention. He earned it back years later after acknowledging his mistakes, supporting a president that African Americans despised, and renouncing Nixon for reneging on promises he had made regarding civil rights. So this is just total BS, and I'll prove it right now. Now keep in mind, Nixon was a Republican. He certainly wasn't our best president, to say the least, but he did end the war in Vietnam. And if you know anything about his presidency, you would know that his reneging on civil rights is complete BS. 1970, he worked to end the decades-old tradition of segregated schools for black and white children throughout the U.S., but they were predominantly in the southern states, of course. Then, in 1969, that was his first year in office, he expanded affirmative action with the revised Philadelphia Plan. Then, again, in 1971, he expands affirmative action with Executive Order number 11625. Oh, guess what? 1973, Nixon again expands affirmative action with Section 501 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. Now, originally, JFK and LBJ instituted some aspects of affirmative action. JFK in an executive order, actually a couple of them in 1961. LBJ in 1964 with Section 717 of Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. And LBJ again in 1965 with Executive Orders 11246 and 11375. But back to Nixon here. Nixon signed the Equal Employment Opportunity Act of 1972, giving the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the EEOC, greater power to enforce against workplace discrimination. Sounds pretty racist, right? Then under Nixon from 1969 to 1972, the EEOC staff increased from 359 to 1,640, and the budget increased from 13.2 million to 29 million. It more than doubled. Yeah, they say this reneging on civil rights BS because they want to paint all Republicans as racist, but to do this they have to lie. So there's the myth about the Nixon Southern strategy, when in fact Nixon lost in a landslide in the South to the Democrat segregationist George Wallace. The Democrat Party was the party of slavery, Jim Crow, and segregation. 0 Republicans owned slaves. Now, Ulysses S. Grant was a Republican, and he inherited one single slave on his wife's side while he was a Democrat, though. And they got rid of him before he became a Republican. Also, every single Jim Crow and segregation law was passed by a Democrat legislature and a Democrat governor, with 0 exceptions. I dare you to try to find an exception to that rule. You won't. So in the future, I'll make a video focusing on slavery, segregation, and Jim Crow in America, but that's just a little taste for now. So anyway, that's about it, guys. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Just click like if you like the video, it helps me out a lot. And then if you click subscribe, make sure to click the bell so you get the notifications for the new video. Otherwise, you probably won't get them, but maybe 10-20% of the time. But yeah, that's about it. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll catch you guys really soon.